Yo-ho, Keith here, 4th and Mitch Studio. It's April 19th, 2018. It's about 20 to 2 in the afternoon. I'm just sitting here chilling in my studio, and basically this is the rig rundown that I was telling you guys I was going to put together. This is going to be an edited video. I was thinking about maybe just doing it in, unedited, just stream of consciousness kind of thing, but I think this might be easier and might be a little bit more interesting than me just umming and trying to figure everything out. Basically, this is my second recording studio that I've had. My first one was Cannon Fire Studio, not far from here. The building that it was in was torn down. It was a nice apartment, and it was a little bit more spacious than 4th and Mitch, but 4th and Mitch is a much more realized recording studio, and something that I've been dreaming of since I started playing guitar a little over a decade ago. This is basically my brainchild and something that I've been desiring to do for a long time. I was telling you in my prior video that eventually I'd like to have a larger space off-site from my home, which would allow me to bring in bands, continue with my own work, as well as forming my own band. I was in a band for a while, and we still loosely get together, and we took the name, the Steady Headies, and me and my music partner, Tony, work under that name, but it's just us. We're multi-instrumentalists, drums, keyboards, guitars, bass, you name it, we put it together. So anywho, without ado, I'm going to stop this particular segment of the video, and I guess we'll start doing the tour. Alright, hope you stick with me. Okay, this is the command center of 4th and Mitch Studio. Got my kick-ass Vizio monitor, TV, I guess you couldn't even call it really a monitor, it's the actual television, sub $200, totally works for my needs. Have my MIDI Plus AKM 320 MIDI controller. I was going to get a full-size one, but I don't play much keys, so I figured, for space and all that kind of stuff, and this way I have this table that the camera's sitting on at the moment. But yeah, this does, what I needed to do for some of the, accompaniment that I would like for my music. This right here is the Vox Valtronic Tone Lab ST. About 11 years old. It was my second effects processor. I use it as my guest rig, and there's a lot of patches on there that I've developed over the years that I still like to go to. So I throw that on from time to time just to keep it going. It has a tube in it. It said it's tube driven. I suspect that it's possibly just a gimmick. I've read some articles that some people actually have blown the tube or taken the tube out of the machine and it still operates to a certain degree. I don't know. I was naive when I bought it and thought it was cool, and it went really well with my old Marshall half stack. I used to have a Marshall AVT 150H head and a matched cab, 4x12 cab for it. I traded it for a 7-string Schecter. I blew the head up, and I've gone to more, now I'm running the, we'll get to it soon, but my 11 rack, and yeah. So anyway, I'm running Studio One Pro, latest version. It's killer, I love it. I said in my prior video that there's a lot of DAWs out there. DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation, if you didn't know. A lot of people use Logic, a lot of people use Cubase, a lot of people use Pro Tools. That's pretty much the industry standard. But I always like to buck the trends, and I don't know. At Studio One, I just like it aesthetically, and I like how easy it is and intuitive it is to, for a novice as myself to learn. So I picked it up for free, and I've upgraded 3 or 4 times over the years, and I'm continuing to do so. And I like it, so that's why I went with Pro. This bad boy over here is a Lenovo laptop. which was my main rig for a while, and I still use it in portable applications if I need any VST stuff if I take, perform somewhere else or go jam or what have you. Prefer not to. I basically use it as an outboard rig for, if I'm working in here. I use it as a television. I also use it for a lot of bringing in loops and effects and stuff like that. And it runs through my old audio box interface, 2-channel one, and I'm just using it out as my stereo outputs into my audio box 1818 VSL 8-channel doohickey interface. So we'll get to that in a moment, but I don't know. It works for me. I'm happy with it. But yeah, it's nice to have two computers, one interface with the other. That way I can, bring in other applications. Maybe if I'm doing like a podcast or radio show or something like that, I can queue up my music on that and just run it through, and I get a nice, clean, unfettered, stereo input to my main rig, which is an HP flagship. It's called the Envy or whatever. It was a rebuild that I found on Amazon. It's got 12 gigs of RAM in it. It's got an i7 chipset. It runs like a beast. It's more than adequate for my uses. I'm not doing that. Like, I usually, on average, the largest multi-tracks that I've done is 8 to 10 tracks. I'm not one of those guys who use 24 or 48 or so on and so forth. I'm not that sophisticated when it comes to production of my music. Anyhow, it's got plenty of RAM, but it's expandable. I could, if I need more, as I add things on, I certainly can do so. And it was sub $500, because everything's on a, like everybody, I'm on a budget, and I didn't want to spend, upwards of $2,000, $3,000 on some super custom Sweetwater computer or, like an Apple system or what have you. So I'm happy with it, and I like HP. I've had good systems from them in the past, so it's golden. These bad boys here, they look like alien spaceships. They're I've watched a lot of studio rundowns and stuff like that with guys like Warren Heward on Produce Like a Pro on YouTube, and a lot of these guys are using these Kensington mounts. I was finding myself, especially when I'm standing up and I'm performing and I'm playing and I need to switch things out, the mouse was causing a lot of tilt in my wrist and giving me some carpal tunnel, which was affecting my playing. So I needed something that I could fly across the screen as quickly as possible, and these little, wheels that the Kensington mouses have work perfectly. These are like the lower end versions. Like, I wanted to try them out before I spent upwards of $90 for these things, and I've seen some really sophisticated ones, and I might use them in the future. But for now, these are pretty damn cool, and I love them. And I don't have to move them. I can, like I said, I can just fly across the wheel, and it throws the cursor across the screen where I need it to go, and I can get fine tuning. I can do fine tuning with it, and no problem. This beautiful piece of machinery right here is my PreSonus fader port. You're gonna come to learn that PreSonus is one of my favorite audio hardware and software companies. Mitch Studio One, obviously, but this is basically an outboard fader controller for when I'm mixing. I was actually looking at like one that had 8 channels and they have a 16-channel one. Where you can get your, the tactile feeling of moving, the levers up and down and stuff like that to mix. But again, real estate is a commodity here at Ports and Mitch, and I didn't feel that I wanted to spend what the price point was for it, and I thought that this could do exactly what I needed to do, and quickly. And to jump between tracks is as simple as one button, So it's perfect for my needs. This bad boy over here is, again, my favorite company in the whole wide world, PreSonus, and this is a monitor station version 2. I needed something to control all my speakers. I'm running 6 speakers. I have 2 Yamaha 15 PA monitors low, and then I have my PreSonus my PreSonus speakers. I forget what the hell their name was off the top of my head. Damn it, I should have known this for the video, right? But they're like their mid-level studio monitors, and I wanted something for when I'm mixing, especially at night or something like that. If my cans are killing my ears or whatever, but I get unmolested, pure tone coming through them, and it's like it shows me all the bad shit that normal stereo speakers have a tendency not to give me. So I have them, and then I have the Squire, my first Squire 10s that I used to have with an old PA system. I still use them. I put new speakers in them, and they're solid, and they've been good workhorses for the 11 or 12 years I've had them. But I needed a control station so that I can control all that stuff, and I can exchange them in I want to run off 6, or I want to run 2 low, or I want to run 4, or I want to, So I love it. It's brilliant. It's awesome. It has auxiliary controls for anything I interface it with. Like right now, I have my metronome, my outboard metronome hooked into it, but I have a tablet here, an Amazon tablet that I use, and I use with my Amazon Prime music stations and stuff like that. I usually just go on YouTube, or I have a huge MP3 collection of music that I go to if I'm listening to music. But yeah, sometimes if I'm cleaning the studio or something like that, this makes a lot of sense. I can just throw on some music, and it knows what kind of music I like, so it just plays, and I don't have to sit there and fiddle. I can just go and do my thing, have it in the background. Yeah, so basically this is the heart of my rig. Starting from the bottom, it's the Pile PCO 850. It's a power conditioner. Everything that's in my rig is plugged into this, and it does exactly what it says it does. It's a power conditioner. It conditions the power to make sure that I'm getting it, even power distributed through my important pieces of my rig, and that's good for if there's power surges in my house, or if I'm in a club that's got wonky power, or a house or another studio. It just makes it basically, it's just peace of mind to protect my rig from wonky power. Above that is a Korean company named Musi6 SYS 2000 power amp. It says 2,000 watts, but that's at I forget the ohms. I'm confused with the ohms. But the way I'm running it, I figured it out. I'm running between 300 and 400 watts per channel. It might be a little bit less, maybe more like 250, 350, I'm not sure. But basically it gives me enough amp of power. I mean, granted, it's not matched to the speakers that I have and all that kind of thing, but for me, it works. And when the money's right and I find a good deal, I will certainly upgrade it. But for now, it does me just fine. Above that is my baby. It's everything that my guitar tone has become. It's called the Avid 11 rack. It's been out since 2009, and I've dreamed about it in magazines since then. There's a lot more advanced stuff out there now, like the Helix, and 11 rack has joined forces with a company to make the Headrush floor controller and all that kind of stuff. But this is the granddaddy of the modern preamps and a lot of the emulation effects and stuff like that, and it just sounds amazing. I could talk about it by itself alone for hours, but I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of what it is. And basically, every time you hear something coming out of my guitar or my bass, it's being driven through this machine, and I'm so proud to own one. It was about $1,000 when it first came out, which was way out of my reach, and I paid $400 new for it last summer, and it's done me so well over the last couple months, and I'm just cracking the surface of it. It's fantastic. I love it, and I just can't say enough about it. Anyway, above that is my PreSonus Audio Box 1818 VSL. 24-bit 96K USB 2.0 recording interface. I originally used the PreSonus the USB interface that was 2-channel, but I grew out of it. And the whole reason I went with 8-channel is because I had to keep changing plugs out on the inputs to different things that I needed to do, and it was driving me freaking crazy. So I go ahead and I get this bad boy, and now I have 8 channels thinking, oh, okay, that's gonna be enough. Wrong. Now, because I've expanded my studio so much in the last couple months, now I have to still do the same channel hop. So eventually there will be another PreSonus audio box 8-channel interface, which will go right below it, and I'll have 16s, because 16 is a hell of a lot better than 8, right? Right. Above that is just a great for an empty slot. So I, just for aesthetics plus it gives it airflow. Actually, there's a PreSonus outboard compressor that I'm looking at that I've heard good things about, and it's around 150 bucks, and it's on my wish list, and eventually it will be put in here for my mixing and mastering purposes. So back to the 11 rack, we're going to go down to the floor now, and you're going to see my pedal boards and what all my foot dance and stuff for my guitar. All right, starting from line in or guitar in, it goes into a Behringer NR300 noise reducer. I use this because I run a lot of high gain effects, and sometimes the shit squeals like a pig, and this keeps it under control at high volume, so I'm not feeding back like crazy and doing all this shit that I don't want it to do. As soon as I stop playing the strings, or striking the strings rather, it just kills everything, and it's perfect. It's got a mute switch on it, that way you don't get the hiss from the amps and all that kind of crap, and I just love it. And Behringer gets a bad rap for being cheap shit, and yes, it's inexpensive, but this is based off the Boss noise suppressor, obviously, but it's not die-cast, it's not metal. I mean, I don't necessarily it's plastic. I don't think I'd feel confident taking that out on the road, but I'm not in a road band, not even in a band at the moment, besides my small collaborative projects with my friend Tony, but it does what it does, and it is what it is, and it was a good price point, and I'm happy with it. Next to that is, I've had for about 12 years now. I've beaten it to shit, and I'm probably either going to have to get it fixed, or I'm going to just buy another one. This is an Ibanez Weeping Demon WD7 wah pedal. It's kind of silly name, but it's built like a tank. But don't let that fool you. It's built like a tank, but its treadle broke. I have to stomp on it like 3 or 4 times to get it to engage. It's just been under my foot for a long time, so it needs some work. But I love it. I love its tone. I love how I can change parameters. He's even got a bass octave control. I can flip it down the bass octaves for my bass guitar, or if I just want to do some wicked, warm, warbly shit with my guitar. Booyah! That's my man right there. Next to it is a simple, inexpensive on-stage MIDI controller that is ran into the back in the effect or into the expression pedal input on my 11 rack, and that's good for like volume sweeps, and I can set it for wah configurations and stuff like that. I still haven't dialed it in well enough yet, and I find it real digitally compared to the WD7, but I wanted to have that ability to do so if I wanted to, so there it is. Next to it is another gem that I've wanted for a long time, and I've seen this in a lot of pro rig rundowns on Premier Guitar. This is from a company called Voodoo Labs. They do a lot of power conditioners and power supplies and stuff like that, but this is called the GDC Pro, or Ground Control Pro, and it's a programmable MIDI controller. And I've heard that it's a great interface for the 11 rack, and I wasn't disappointed. It's phenomenal. I only have about 20 to 25% of it programmed, but eventually I'll go through the entire 11 rack and all the patches and stuff like that, and I'll get everything, I'll have my dirties next to my cleans, but for what I need and for my purposes, I love it. It's awesome. I can't say enough about it. It's easy to program once you figure it out. And there you go. And that's the end of the main effects loop, and that of course goes, you know, into the 11 rack. And then these two bad boys over here are on the effects loop of my, which I can control from right here on the, you know, obviously the effects loop. And that's another Behringer pedal. It's a FX600 digital multi-effects. And I bought that when I blew up my Marshall head because it had such a wicked delay on it, and I loved it. That I needed something that I could dial in, and this was, you know, for the price point that I had, this came pretty close. And I love that delay so much that I still run it outboard. And then next to that is a TC Electronic Ditto looper pedal. And I was looking at a bunch of different ones. I was looking at some stuff from Digitech. I was looking at, you know, stuff from Boss and all these things, and I didn't need a whole one-man band thing. I just wanted something simple that I could tap it, you know, whatever amount of time. This one's 5 minutes, which is plenty. You know, build something up on the fly, kick it back on and play it back and play over it. And that does exactly what I needed to do, and it's fantastic. So there you go. This is the newest addition to the Mitch Studio. This is my new house drum kit. Now, as I said in previous videos, you know, my primary instrument is a guitar, but I love rhythm, and I've always loved banging on drums. And actually I take to it pretty well. I wouldn't say I'm a great player, but I'm not a bad player either, and this thing is fantastic. Now this is just a Gammon percussion cheap, you know, junior kit or whatever. It's not, I wouldn't say a junior kit, it's full size, but it's, you know, like a starter kit. A friend of mine purchased it and didn't have the room for it and brought it over here, and then I traded some equipment for it because I took to it more than he did, and I added all new heads. It had some pretty cheapo heads on it. I still got to do the bottoms. But I read some good articles about the Evans 360 heads, so I basically did Evans all around. I got and I'm running 3 microphones on this. I'm running the Pile 37 microphones, which is based off the Shure 57s, which is a lot less expensive. I got one on the bass drum, I got one up high over here, and I got one on the snare. And then what I'm actually recording out of right now, my voice, is my E3000 barrel mic that I got free with my interface, which was pretty badass and generous. But I usually use that for the other overhead, for the right overhead. But the problem with that being is it's actually designed more for vocals and for, you know, spoken word kind of thing. It's a little too airy, so I think I'm probably going to end up going with another one of these mics. And then eventually I might get, I'm actually going to get a kick drum mic, so that's actually corded for the kick drum. I'm getting some pretty decent kick drum sounds, but I have to do a lot in post, and my whole idea is that I wanted to record it perfectly going in. That way I don't have to do too much after the fact, you know. I want to keep that live capture. I've added some equipment to it. The pedals were horrible shit, the bass pedals, so I put in, actually my mom was kind enough to buy me this for a Christmas present last year, and there's this double bass drive, which is a lot more tedious and a lot more complicated to keep in time than I thought it would be. But I'm happy with it nonetheless, and I'll just keep practicing. Yeah, I got a Meinl tambourine for the hi-hat. Gives it the hi-hat a little bit more accent that I like. Like I said, clear Evans 360s all around. The floor tom in the back, the blue one. This one, the smaller one. And I know that usually the smaller one goes in front of the bigger one, but the way spaces in my room is a commodity, as we said in the studio, I had to flip them around, but it works. It's just a little wonky, but that's from a different machine completely. It was actually a generous gift from my roommate Lou. I still haven't added many cymbals to it. That's my next step, but I just got a simple cymbals, and we're just it's a drum kit, there's not much else to say about it. I'm sure I could get into details for all you drum nerds and shit like that, but like I said, it's not my primary instrument, and everything's on a budget.
you know, as I stated a million times before during this video, it's perfect, and I can set it up in any configuration. So if I have guest drummers or whatever and they want to throw down, I have a mic'd up drum kit ready to go. My old drummer for my old band, the Headies, he plays left-handed, but that's easy enough to flip everything around for him if you know, so needs. That way he doesn't have to bring his rig. You know, he can bring his cymbals and his throne or whatever he particularly cares about, his snare or what have you, and you know, there's an instrument here for him, which is great. Doesn't just not for me. I did wall-to-wall, if you haven't noticed here, sound dampening styrofoam. I read some articles. You don't need to go wall-to-wall. You put it in particular places in the room, but for me to do that, I figured that would be too much, and I like the aesthetic of it. So what I decided to do is I decided to go wall-to-wall. That way, whatever configuration the room becomes, I need to move things around. It doesn't. You know, I'll still get the same kind of, you know, dampening effects, if you will. I'm not real savvy on it. I'm not real educated on all the particulars and, you know, where to put the bass traps and all that stuff. But I'm learning, and you know, that's what this is all about. That's what life in general is all about. Is about learning, is the way I see it. All right, these bad boys over here. This is my triple tree that my roommate Lou got me. I was gonna put everything on the wall, you know, for floor space, and I never even thought about one of these, but he got this for me for Christmas, and I love it. It's perfect. This is my Fender Stratocaster. It's a 2007, 2008 Mexi Strat. I bought it from an old school chum, Steve, years ago. I love it. It's HSS. I can shred on it, but I can also play some really clean, you know, clean chords on it, and some beautiful blues and jazz on it. It's just a really good, versatile machine, and it's good for, you know, to have those kind of machines that are like traditional classics for, you know, musicians that might come in here and not have their own instruments that feel at home with it, you know. And of course, you got to have the Paisley Levi strap on it because, you know, Jimmy would, you know. And then it's hard to see in the light here, but this is basically my Schecter Damien 7. It's a 2011 machine. Again, same guy I got the drum kit off of. I traded my old Marshall half stack for it. It's a badass machine. It needs some work. I need some truss rod. It needs a truss rod adjustment. It needs a good setup. But it's a workhorse. It's a beast. You know, it's got some wicked. I don't know if you can see them, but it's got the fat inlays and everything. And I don't know. It's not really my aesthetic, but it's badass. And when you pick it up and you put it on, you feel you want to bring the heavy. 7 strings are different. I just set them up like just having an extra string below the E. A lot of guys do, you know, put different tunings on it, but there's the standard tuning, you know, like I said, with the B below the E is cool, and I get some pretty interesting crunch out of it, so it's there when it's needed. Back here, it's hard to see, and I'm not gonna really go into detail about it, but this is my Squier P bass that I bought off an old work chum, little brother, or you know, his name's Joe. He was looking for some money to get his life together and get a car, and you know, after he graduated school and everything, so you know, I was more than happy to buy it from him because I told him if he wanted to get rid of it, sell it to me. So he did. So now I have a house bass, and I like the P basses. The P basses are great, and they're great instruments, and yeah, I've been quite happy with it. But anyway, now these are my babies right here. This is Natasha, and that is Sally. Sally was my first guitar. That was the first machine that I bought back in 2007. Like I said, I played a little bit when I was a teenager, but it was just hand-me-downs and throwaway guitars, and I never really invested anything in it. It's just a Geo series, but I've put some work into it and I've modified it over the years, and it's a good workhorse. And actually, she's going to be my next project. I'm going to actually give her a hot rod makeover, if you will. The only thing that's going to be original on this instrument is going to be the body and the neck. I'm gonna strip her down. I'm gonna sand her up. I'm gonna put a whole new paint job on her, same color, maybe even matte finish. I really like the matte look. And I'm gonna put some really bitchin' gnarly pickups in it. Originally I was gonna go with the EMG Active 8581 configuration, which is your quintessential metal sound. But I don't know if I want to go active. I kind of like my passives, and I have EMG EMGs in my Schecter that are non-active. They're passive, but I don't know, they're a little snarly for my liking. I needed something a little warmer, and so I might go some Seymour Duncans or something to go with that machine. And Natasha, the white one here, that is my dream guitar. I've always wanted an ice white Ibanez RG, and it's I believe it's a serial number 2EX2, I think. I forget. It was actually originally built for Guitar Center in 2005 as a Ibanez dealer or promotion thing with them. It gets a lot of knocks in the industry from what I've researched and stuff, but you know what? I love it. It sounds freaking amazing. And again, it has passive pickups designed by EMG, and eventually I'm going to upgrade those, of course, as well. But I can't say enough about that instrument. I go to that thing all the time. It sounds great in any tuning. It plays anything I want it to. It's got a wizard neck on it like you wouldn't believe. It's got a really flat radius on it, and it's just fast as shit. And I love it. And it looks good, and it feels good, and it sounds so fucking good. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. I hope you guys dug the studio rundown that I did for you today. Stay tuned for more music and crazy antics in here in 4th and Mitch. I really appreciate your time. If you want to check out my music, it's at Rasblood Productions at SoundCloud. I'm also on the 6-String app under Rasblood Productions. Facebook, I'm under my name, Keith Grote. Check me out. Anyway, stay tuned for some more videos from 4th and Mitch and Rasblood Productions. Alright, keep it metal.